And now please welcome to the Charlotte Touchdown Club, NFL legend and Hall of Fame quarterback, Joe Montana.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. It's great to be here. I want to thank the Charlotte Touchdown Club for having me here. Also want to thank all the sponsors for allowing and giving the opportunity to the Touchdown Club to do all the great things they do for the community, because we all know how important that is. And today it's tough raising and keeping sports together, it seems like, for some reason, because I always thought that sports was one of the best life lessons that we could do for our kids. It teaches them how to deal with other people from every race, every religion, and work together and find ways to be successful. And it's sad to see in some places that, some of these things are getting cut. So I just want to thank sponsors for helping the Touchdown Club do all those great things. And it's great to be here. They always show that first play, and it makes the Cowboy fans a little mad, but I'm not welcoming. They always forget, though, that they had the ball back and they still couldn't score, so they forget that for some reason. But I get the blame, right? Dwight and I. But and they still swear I was throwing it away. But anyway, what we talk about today, I came to, everybody talks about success, right? It's something we always chase. We're all chasing in one way or another. And when I look at the success we had as the 49ers and myself, really, it came from one thing, and that was preparation. And unfortunately for me, I really didn't learn about preparation until late in my career. But preparation really, when I look back on it, was probably the most important reason for my success, and I truly believe that it will be your reason for success, because I really believe that the way you come to work every day, the way I showed up to practice and learned how to show up to practice every day, had more to do with my success, and the way you show up for work and your enthusiasm and your readiness will have more to do with your success than anything. Yeah, some of us will get lucky and how many guys hit the lottery in this room? No, I didn't think so. But that's what it's all. Everybody seems to think that they see successful people and forget that really it's taken a lot of work to get there, no matter who they are. And when I talk about today, I want to talk a little bit, obviously, about preparation, but I want to also bring up, where that begins, and that begins with the fundamentals. And also, I learned it was with perfection. So as you prepare, you begin with these fundamentals. You look to strive for perfection. And in the meantime, you develop a work ethic. And I think one of the most important things is trust, that you build with the people around you. And I started early playing sports, and fundamentals was something that my father could teach me. He didn't know a lot about sports. But he felt that he could at least give me that and give me a good start on that. So I was very fortunate that he was around, because I played baseball, basketball, and football all the way through my freshman year in college, and when I got to Notre Dame. And my dad was great, because he worked at a finance company, and my mom worked in the same office with him, and they 26 or 7 years. So it was draining in that office every day. Not sure how they made it that long. But he was great. Usually when he came home, I had a basketball in my hand, right? And so he would take me down to the park and dribble around, playing. He'd let me play around for a while, and then he'd start saying, okay, come on, I want you to do this. And I still wanted to have fun, but he felt that he could at least give me the fundamentals. And he saw me doing this one day, and this is what got him going, was I was going to the same spot on the court. He said, what are you doing? So I'm going over here. I like this spot. It's my favorite spot. I can make shots here. He goes, what do you think? In the game, they're just going to say, here, go on over to your spot. Go ahead. And so he started teaching me the fundamentals of the game, dribbling left-handed, passing, bounce pass. I mean, to the point to where you just, as a kid, it gets draining, right? But he also let me have fun, which was, I liked because I get to get him back for what he did to me during the tough part. And we'd play one-on-one, and, you know, he would do things to me because I was a little faster than him, obviously, and as I'd go, he'd get tired of losing, so he'd stick his foot out as I drove by and trip me and make him fall. And his favorite thing to do was really, as I went around, we'd shoot and I'd miss a shot and go to jump for a rebound, he'd step on my foot so I couldn't jump, and he just had the biggest belly laugh, and I said, "You can't do that." And he said, "I just did it." And he said, "So what are you going to do?" And he explained that, you know, there are little things that you got to pay attention to, and things that you don't really realize that can help you in games. And I mean, how many times we see people out there getting frustrated over the little things that happen to them because they're not ready for them, they don't prepare for them. And he did the same for football, right? And he would go run routes because as a 10-year-old, obviously, you can't find, you know, 5 or 6 kids who want to go run routes while you drop back 3 steps and overthrow the ball, do it, underthrow, whatever, and they chase the ball. And so my dad would step in and he would run the routes for me, and he'd run a hook route for me, and I'd throw the ball, and every now and then I would just throw it a little harder, and it would snap, hit him, and I'd go, "Sorry, Dad, you know, I didn't mean to throw it that hard." And he'd run a crossing route, and you know, he's pretty proud, so he didn't want to miss any balls, so I kept throwing it a little further and further in front of him so I could get him to fall down. I could help him up. "Sorry, Dad." I remember that basketball stuff. Yeah, I do too. But he had some great ideas too. You know, when we went down into my neighbor's backyard, we used to go down there. Our yard wasn't big enough to throw balls in, and they had a huge backyard. And one day we went down there, and they put up a tire swing. And he said, "Oh, this is great." He goes, "You can work on your accuracy. You can throw the ball through the tire swing. I don't have to run around. I can swing the tire. You can try to hit it while it's moving. And this is all great." Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but you know, as kids, we always have our own ideas on how to do things, right? And he wants to win the next item. He's going to find a number. But so my neighbor and I, my neighbor's front yard took a little dip down about like where the floor is from the street, and there was a little plateau there before it went down in his backyard. And we decided in the winter that we had a great game, that we'd take snowballs and wait down there, and as the cars passed, we would throw snowballs at the cars, and we had points for like the front tire and the passenger window and the doors, and you got a lot of points if you had to throw between parked cars and you hit one of those. So we had this great game of working on our accuracy, right? And until the police took me home to my dad that day and said, "Hey, you know, this is what your boys were doing." He didn't think it was that funny. Well, you know, as I said, you got to pay attention to those little things because you never know when they're going to come back to help you. Because one night I found myself on the Letterman show, and I'd been there a couple times, and we were always doing stupid things. And one day we were in jail together, and I was fine till he moved over and put his arm around me, and then I got nervous. And then the next time we were on the wharf, and I had a brand new suit on. I was going out to dinner with my wife after. We're stuffing live big crabs down the front of our pants I have no idea, but all I know is I can feel the juice running into my shoes and down I'm like, this is not good. But this time he says, "Hey, I got a challenge for you." I go, "Okay, I'm up for a challenge. I'm very competitive." He goes, "I'm going to take you out on the back street here on 53rd or whatever it was, and so I'm going to line up 3 taxis, and I'm going to give you 3 chances to throw the football through the passenger window." I said, "Okay, this is great." He said, "But before you go out there, I just wanted to tell you one thing, that the last 2 guys who were here, they didn't make any." And I said, "Okay." He goes, "You might know them, Aikman and Young." So I know I'm not leaving without making one. Even if I have to wait till commercial, I'm still making one. But go down there, and I get ready, and first taxi comes, and I step back, and I throw the first ball, and it hits the divider between the window, passenger window, bounces back to me. Just getting ready to throw the next one, I'm going, this is so easy. I know I can't miss 2 more of these things. And a guy taps me on the shoulder and says, hey, listen, Johnny doesn't want you to throw the ball so hard. I'm thinking, okay, this is TV. Oh, did I do something wrong or what? He goes, no, Johnny's the next cabbie. He's afraid you're going to get it through the window and you're going to hit him. I said, he obviously hasn't heard about my arm, has he? It's not, I can't hurt anybody with this thing. But sure enough, the next ball comes and I step back, and here comes the car, and I throw it through the window. And we cut to a commercial, and I'm just going crazy. And Letterman looks at me and goes, what the heck's wrong with you? I go, this show's taped, right? He goes, yeah, it's 5 o'clock, you idiot. Which comes on at 11:30. I go, okay, let me tell you this story about my dad. And I said, and as soon as I leave here, I'm calling my dad and saying, Dad, do you remember when the police brought me home? Well, it paid off. Watch Letterman tonight, see? But you never know when those little things, as I said, they come back to help you. And sometimes funny situations, and sometimes, as you'll see, that it means a lot. And as I progressed on through the fundamentals with my dad and went on to Notre Dame and had a kind of an up and down career there for a while, and finally got settled in. I left there thinking I was pretty well prepared for the NFL. I really hadn't expected the NFL, looking at the guys who were throwing the ball around the league or around the NCAA at the time. So I was just happy to get a chance. But as I got there, I was very, very fortunate because I ran into a guy named Bill Walsh. And that's where really I found out what preparation was really all about. Because everyone that gets to that level and has that kind of success, we all seem to think that fundamentals come naturally. Well, I found out the opposite, and that we worked fundamentals every day in every position, but especially the quarterback position, because he truly believed that if you are fundamentally sound from your waist down, you can do whatever you want up top. But that's what really drives the quarterback and drives accuracy. But the other thing I also learned about him was perfection. He demanded perfection from everyone, but especially at the quarterback position, because he wanted you to be perfect. He said, every time you walk out on the field, you should try to complete 100% of your passes. I go, yeah, I do that. He goes, no, you don't. He goes, you can sit there and tell me you go out there, I don't go out there and try not to complete them. But he goes, but you don't try to complete them. And it was a different mindset. And that's really what it was about. He wanted the little details. When you run a hook route, when your guy runs a hook, he says, you can see where the defender is. If he's coming from this side, throw the ball to this number. So that he tell him to turn this way so he doesn't get hit in the face. He's running a crossing route. I want you to throw the ball 12 inches in front of the numbers, not 8 behind or 2 feet in front, where you stretch him out and you've got a guy coming in the other direction trying to take his head off. And you see that these make a big difference. And you look back and you think about Jerry Rice, for example, who I'll talk about in a little bit, but those guys, you never really saw our guys jumping and diving for balls all the time. Very, very rare occasion for that, because Bill demanded that you basically catch the ball for the guy. It's your job to deliver a perfect pass. And he stressed that. And we found out, when you look at the fundamentals that we did every day, when things got bad, we didn't start throwing Hail Marys. We went backwards to fundamentals. We were playing the Saints at home when our field was in perfect San Francisco shape, stuff coming up everywhere, and we're getting beat 35, I think it was 13 or 14. Then it was in the third quarter, and Bill called everybody up and said, okay, guys, come up here. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to just go back to the fundamental plays we put in on offense from day one. We're going back to our basic fundamental plays on defense. And all I want to do today is build from here. Let's do something good from this point on. Let's get out of here, and we'll carry on into the next week. Well, we did that, but unfortunately or fortunately, for him, we came back to win the game 38-35, but not by trying new things. We just had lost sight of what really got us to where we were, and that was the fundamental part of what we did. And when you look at perfection, if you look at the Super Bowl, our first Super Bowl, Bill came from Cincinnati, and he actually coached Kenny Anderson, who was the quarterback at the time, and it's 4th and 1. They're on our 1-yard line. their back comes out of the backfield, and Kenny, all he has to do is throw the ball 1 foot in front of the numbers. Instead, he throws it 8 inches behind, and the guy turns to catch it, loses his momentum. Otherwise, if he catches it on the run, he just dives in the end zone, and they go ahead. And who knows where it would have gone from there. But luckily for us, he throws it behind him. Our middle linebacker now has time to come, and he stops him on the 1 yard line, and we drive to score a touchdown, and we end up winning the Super Bowl. So when you look at the little things that make a big difference, you know, there's another example of it. I mean, it was a simple throw. It was probably 5 or 6, 8 yard throw to the running back, but yet he was off by a foot, and it made a difference in the Super Bowl. And when you realize what you're doing, when you do these things, when you go practice the fundamentals, when you strive for perfection, you know, his thoughts always were, you know what, we strive to be perfect because if we miss, we're still pretty good. But if you strive to be mediocre and you don't make it, you're not going to be in this league very often, for very long. And he was right. You can see a lot of those guys that came in, they were just happy to be there. They didn't want to get any better. But the thing that happens while you're doing this is you develop a work ethic. And when you talk about work ethics, there's one guy that comes to my mind, that's Jerry Rice. Because JR set a new standard when he came to us, even for Bill, because Jerry was the kind of guy, well, first of all, Bill's telling me about this guy, he's caught so many touchdowns, he's run for touchdowns, he's thrown for touchdowns, and I said, how many did he throw for? And he said, and anyway, he comes in, and first day of practice, I mean, honestly, balls are bouncing off of Jerry. He literally can't catch a cold today, but the first one he catches, it was probably 60 yards to the end zone, and wide receivers are taught, catch the ball, turn and run up the field, get used to making that move. Well, Jerry catches the ball, now he sprints as fast as he can go, and I kid you not, I mean, the fastest, no one is going to catch him for a touchdown. And all of us are going, come on, rookie, I know, you got to try to impress the coach. Okay, now get back here. That's not how it's done. Well, little did we know that is how it's done. And every time that Jerry touched the ball in practice, I don't care if it was 9 yards or 90 yards, Jerry scored a touchdown. And so you ask yourself, is it a coincidence that Jerry's the NFL's all-time touchdown reception leader? I say no, because that's what he did every day of practice. That's how he came to practice. And the best thing about it is that work ethics are contagious. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. But it happens on both sides. But luckily for us, it was good because we had another guy named John Taylor, who, if Jerry wasn't there, would have been Jerry Rice. Amazing receiver. But when you have two guys running comebacks on each side, okay, Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Jerry, okay. And as you let go of the ball, you look over there and John's standing there like this. And he used to call it, I go, John, what are you doing? I'm just running for my health. That's all. It felt so bad, but these guys, so you throw a ball to John, now he would run and score a touchdown, right? Or you throw the ball to Roger Craig, who was our running back at the time, and he would run and score a touchdown. And then you throw it to any of them, and the three of them started like racing to the end zone. And we're all going, come on, guys. You know, we don't have a timed practice. We got plays for practice. So however long it takes you to get through 90 plays, that's how long it's going to take you to practice. So everybody's going, come on. Little do you know that when the little things help you. Again, because one day, we're playing Monday night, we're playing against the Rams in Anaheim, and we usually play pretty well down there, but this day they're handing it to us pretty good. And I mean, not only are we playing bad, but we're getting bad field position, and we get the ball on the 6 yard line, and I step back 3 steps, and I throw a little slant route to John Taylor, not more than 8 yards. Well, John goes 94 yards for a touchdown. But it wasn't that he went for the touchdown, it was that Jerry Rice was all the way down inside the 20 throwing a block for him. And if that's not good enough for you, we get the ball again on the 4 yard line. Same 3 steps, same 8 yard pass, 96 yard touchdown. With again, Jerry Rice throwing a block inside the 20 to make sure he gets in the end zone. And if those guys aren't doing that, running up and down the field, that's not going to happen. And for a quarterback, I'm loving it. I just threw 2 8 yard passes. I have 190 yards of passing and 2 touchdowns. So they can do that all day if they want. But I think what happens from there is really what allows teams to go to the next level. And that's a thing called trust. And trust is earned, it's not given, right? You have to be able to trust the guy by seeing what he's doing, by knowing that he's going to be there, by helping you when you're having trouble, when you helping him when they're having trouble. That's the biggest thing I think about. You see guys yelling at each other on the field. It's the worst thing that can happen because those 11 guys need each other out there. And they said, well, you never yell at your wide receivers. I go, no, because what's going to happen is I got to find a way to make him play better or help him get through tough times, because guess what? I'm going to have one of those myself sometime. And I'm going to need their help and their support. And if we don't give it to each other, it's not going to happen, because the only thing that's going to happen is when we get to the sideline and somebody did something wrong, we're all going to get yelled at. So let's try to figure this out while we're out here before we go over there. And that's the thing that I think is about it, especially offensive football. When you look at offensive football, quarterback a lot of times has to throw the ball before he really wants to. So when you tell somebody a 10-yard out, and I get pressure, and I'm thinking, okay, I have to throw this to a spot before the wide receiver's even made a turn. If he goes 14 yards or if he goes 8 yards, chances are the DB's going to catch it, and they trust and know that I won't catch the DB before he gets to the end zone. So trust starts early in offensive football, because the minute I step up behind the line, I have to put my trust in those 5 fat guys in front of me, right? And that, they're the 5 fat guys on the other side. They want to get to me because they don't like me having the ball. So I have to trust them, and the trust starts early there. I mean, it starts from the snap of the ball, and the real trust really begins a lot earlier than that, because the relationship between the quarterback and the center. Not as much today because you're 5 feet away from them or 5 yards, but still some guys get up underneath there. But when we had to get up underneath there, that's the worst. I can't explain to you how bad it is when the ball hits the ground between the quarterback and the center with the head coach. You could throw 3 interceptions and he probably doesn't care as much as the one time you drop the ball on the ground. So it starts early. So you have a special relationship, and one day I go into the quarterbacks always get to the meetings early, and because back then we didn't have all the email and all that stuff that was going on, so we would have to go physically pick up the plays, and we had a lot of plays. We had probably 20 to 130 pass plays in a game plan with 2 and 3 different formations, and we didn't have the earpieces, so we had to memorize all this before the end of the week, and sometimes even before practice. So we'd be there early. We'd finish our meeting early, and we had 15, 20 minutes before the team meeting. So I go into the team meeting room and sit down and to study my stuff, and in there is my center, right? And he's having breakfast. Now he has a quart of chocolate milk and the biggest green chili bean burrito I've ever seen in my life. Now you can only imagine what that does to a man's system at 7:30 in the morning. Right? And the only thing I can think about is where my hands have to be for the rest of the day. And yeah, I know what you're thinking, and it's true. It does happen. They think they're funny. But the one thing about trust you find out quickly is that trust is a mutual thing, right? I trust he's not going to have an issue, but he does. But he also found out that he can trust that if he does, that with a little flick of my fingers, he will have a very difficult time breathing for a while. So trust starts early there, and it comes mutual quickly. But when I look back on my career, and honestly, I can say I wish I had met someone like Bill Walsh earlier in my life, as I think he was a big reason for my success, not only on the field, but off the field. He was great with the players, and things you shouldn't do, things you shouldn't be doing, things you should say to the media, things you shouldn't say to the media. I know there's some issues with that going on. Unfortunately, we had a really good guy to guide us through that part of it. And it really was the reason for our success was our preparation. I felt that we were more prepared than any other team going into games, and that was our key to success. And I think it will be to yours and anyone else who looks back on the things that they've done. It really is that preparation. But just to give you one more quick story about preparation before I go, Notre Dame. I went to Notre Dame. I grew up in high school. Just was my dream to go to Notre Dame. Hadn't even thought of the NFL, but I just dreamt to go to Notre Dame. You know, you saw them on TV every Saturday, every Sunday. Well, getting into Notre Dame was a little different because they have their own entrance exam. It's a 150-question test that you have to take separately. And so I knew this guy that was trying to go in, and he prepared himself really well. And he went in there and sat down, and he ripped through 149 questions and got to the 150th question and said, "What's what?" I don't care. I did great. So he signed his paper, turned it in. A couple weeks later, he gets a letter from the university saying, "I'm sorry, you've been denied entrance into the University of Notre Dame because you missed the most important question on the test." And that was what's what. I said, okay, I'll prepare myself and I'll go back and I'll do it again next year. So sure enough, he prepares, goes back in, sits down, takes the test, rips through those 149 questions. I didn't think what's what was going to be on here again. Sure enough, there it was. Well, this time he at least takes a stab at the answer, but he knows what he's getting, and sure enough, he got the same letter a couple weeks later. It's a nice summer day. He says, "The heck with this." He grabs his girlfriend, they get the boat and canoe, go out, and they're going to just boat canoe around out on the lake. And it's a nice sunny day, and she's in her little bikini, and you know, he's being the fine, upstanding, soon-to-be Notre Dame gentleman. He's staring off at the shoreline. And she says, he's not even paying attention, so I may as well get some sun. So she leans back, top of her bathing suit hits the back of the boat, snaps open, makes a noise, and he turns and says, "What's that?" And she said, "What's what?" And he said, "If I knew that, I'd be a sophomore in college." So you see, preparation is key. But I do want to just say thanks again to the Touchdown Club for having me. Congratulate them on a tremendous job. And when you were up here asking about what's next with the million, I'm sure you've seen the commercial for Papa John's. I'm giving away 1 million pizzas. No. 2 million. No, 1 million. So 2 million. There's your next level. And hope with all the great things that you've done, you have that success. And I'm sure with the great sponsors you've had, you guys will get there soon. And thank you for all you've done, and thank you for having me.